Welcome to Your Case, Your Justice, Personal Injury with Empathy with Lowell Steiger.
Welcome to Your Case, Your Justice, Personal Injury with Empathy with Lowell Steiger. Lowell is a dedicated Southern California attorney who has been fighting for injured clients since 1998. With a genuine passion for advocacy, he works tirelessly to secure justice and compensation for those in need. I am your host, Kevin Rosenquist, and today's episode is The Heart of Personal Injury Law, Lowell Steiger's journey and passion for helping clients. Lowell, so good to have you here. Thanks for being here.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Can you start by telling us a bit about your journey into personal injury law and ultimately what led you to pursue this career?
Sure. So I was about 38 years old and I was in business, not law. And I decided, I always wanted to be a lawyer. And I thought, that's something that people will still want me when I'm old. Because the older I get, the more experience I'll have had, right?
Sure.
It doesn't get less, it gets more. Anyway, but I was originally going to do private adoptions. That was my goal. And when I started law school, one of my very closest friends, who's still my very closest friend, said, come work for me and learn personal injury. And I thought, personal injury? Anyway, nobody's knocking down my door. So I said, okay. So I went there. And then what I found out was that there's a real need for it. People are hurt, they're scared, and they need someone not only to represent them legally, but someone that can hold their hand through the process and help them heal while they're going through all this stuff. And it turned out to be something that I loved, and I never looked back.
That making that change at 38, that's, I don't think I've known plenty of lawyers in my life. I don't know that I've known anyone who started that late.
Well, that's when I started law school.
Yeah.
Yeah, I became a lawyer at 42. So
wow.
I'm 69 now. Yeah.
Wow. That's an interesting late, career, pivot, if you will.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. The only sad thing about it, two things I'll tell you real quick. One, I had an aunt who ended up living to about 100. And I remember I called her up. It was my mother's aunt, but like my aunt, I was really close to her. And I said, but if I go to law school, I'll be 42 when I won't be practicing until I'm 42. And she said, you're going to be 42 anyway. Oh, okay. You're right. I mean, she was right. Then my grandmother always wanted me to be a lawyer. And I took the bar and passed it. I passed the bar about a month after she passed away. So that was kind of sad.
Yeah, that's a bummer.
Yeah, that was kind of sad. But again, so they're always in my heart when I'm doing this.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
What drives your passion for helping injured clients, and how has that passion sort of shaped your practice over the years?
It's a really unfair system for people that are not represented. Like if somebody gets into a car accident, for example, or slip and fall or whatever, the insurance company for the at-fault party will oftentimes, give them a call and, oh, we feel so bad this happened to you. Here's $1,000, go away. And then that's it. And then they don't even know yet that what the extent of their injuries are, what the extent of their losses are. People need someone that's going to zealously represent them and care for what they're going through. Medically, I'm not a doctor, but I can sort of tell what people are going through just by their symptoms. When I ask them, well, how do you feel? That's what I always say. How are you? When I get a call about a new case. When I hear that, it sets all the bells and whistles going off in my head, and I kind of know how to guide them. At least in the beginning, to heal. That's kind of it. That's kind of what drives it.
It's not too late to go to med school. You can always.
Plus, I don't like blood.
Yeah, no, I don't either. I know you emphasize empathy as a core value of your practice. Can you tell us why empathy is so important to you in personal injury law?
Well, it's important to me as a person, first of all. I've always been that way. When I talk to somebody, they start telling me what pains they're feeling, my body starts to kind of jerk around a little bit, in unison with what they're telling me. But I think that the reason it's so important in personal injury is because if I can understand and feel what somebody else is going through, I can better represent them. And I know we can talk about that a little bit later. I'll have an example for you, but that's kind of where I'm coming from with it. I just think, and I'm sorry. And the other thing is that people need to feel that they're being heard and that somebody actually cares about them, that they're not just another number. Like I don't run a huge practice. I limit it because I want to be able to really give a fair amount of my time and focus to people's needs throughout the process. It's not just, okay, slam bam, and let's get a case settled. I don't work that way. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it absolutely does. And I was thinking about your approach to empathy and not lecturing clients. In practice, how does the empathy play into when you work with someone who's dealing with a serious injury rather than just sort of like, lecturing them?
Yeah, interesting. I don't like to lecture people. What I like to do is I like to hear what they're going through and sort of work through it with them. And I think that if you lecture people, it's just my experience in life, whether it's in law or just in life in general, people are not interested in being told what to do. People like to make their own decisions. They might like some guidance, and that's why they come to a lawyer for it, right? When we have experience, after the years and years of doing this, I know how the system works, although it's ever changing, but I know how the system works, and I can sort of tell. I try to put myself in the shoes of not only my clients, but also the insurance adjusters or the defense attorneys, so that I know where they're coming from, so that I can have a conversation where we can move forward, as opposed to yelling over each other. Now I'm talking about the adjusters yelling over each other. That never works, because everybody, you don't want to make somebody wrong, right? What is it? Would you rather be right, or would you rather be president? That old saying.
That's right. I have heard that before. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. No one wants to be wrong. No one wants to be told they're wrong, especially.
Right. And, I've certainly over the years screwed that up. I mean, probably a million times, or maybe 1,000,001 times. But I really try to stay true to being empathetic with my clients and everybody that's involved in the cases. If I were to start lecturing somebody, that makes it sound like I'm above them, which I'm not. And I don't want them to feel that that's how I feel about them. I want them to know that I'm in their court, and that I'm feeling I'm understanding what they're feeling. I may not necessarily feel it, but I understand it.
Yeah. Can you mentioned you had an example of a time when showing empathy really helped make a difference in a case's outcome or a client's experience. Can you share that with us?
Oh my God, so many years ago, there was this lady. At that time, she was like 81 years old, and she went for physical therapy. She drove there herself, walked in, they put her on an incumbent bike, those low bikes on the ground.
Yeah.
But
the incumbent bikes. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And they didn't strap her in. And she was elderly, and no one was there watching her. And the next thing she knew, she woke up in the hospital with a broken neck, and she was partially, they call it an incomplete quad. She was partially paralyzed from the chest down.
Oh my gosh.
It was terrible. I mean, she was such a lovely lady. And so we would go to her house. She had enough money to be able to actually have caregivers 24/7. And I would go there and I would talk to her, and, we would kind of commiserate. And she got to the point where she was able to go back, even though she couldn't move, like from here down. Her arms worked a little. It was really weird. But anyway, she would go and play bridge. She resumed her bridge games, and she resumed her life the best she could. So because of that, and because I really got into her and her life and everything, I was able to relay all of that to the adjuster. And I worked with the adjuster in the case, the insurance adjuster, for the physical therapy people. And the lady said, the adjuster said, I'm going to do everything I can to get as much for your client as I possibly can. And she did. She came through, because she said, if anything ever happened to me, I want to be her. And she had never even met my client, but it was all because of the stuff that I understood about the client, and I was able to relay to the adjuster. And then we ended up getting her a pretty large 7-figure settlement, so that she could continue to have her needs taken care of for the rest of her life.
My goodness, that's awful. That is awful.
She was such and I'm still in touch with her daughter like 20 years later.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a great story for why that approach works, especially when you're talking to the adjuster. Instead of taking a hard line approach, and being aggressive, you took more of an empathetic approach and got her on your side.
Yeah.
To some degree.
Yeah, thank you.
And I know that's not going to happen every time, obviously, but it's nice when it can.
But you know what? Sometimes, it doesn't do it every time, but it really does. I think if your client knows that you're genuine and you're not just blowing smoke, and if the opposing party knows you're genuine, it kind of changes the dynamic, and it makes it a much more positive experience for everybody involved.
Agreed.
It's never a good experience to get hurt.
Sure.
right? And I've never had a single client say to me, "Oh, I am so glad that I was hurt because now I have this money."
The money makes up for everything else.
Yeah, it doesn't make,
It
it does not make up for the pain that people go through.
Yeah. I mean, in your experience, have you seen a lot of people who try to handle this kind of stuff on their own without getting a lawyer?
It happens, but not usually. If that happens, it really, people kind of screw up their cases.
Yeah, that's kind of what I've heard.
Yeah. And sometimes, even if it's a good case, I won't take it because it's just so messed up by the time it gets here. There's nothing I can do to help.
Oh, like someone tried to represent themselves and dug themselves into a hole?
Right.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And it happens a lot. And one of the main things you always want to do, a person should, if people can remember this, if they can take one thing away from today, is if you get into an accident or slip and fall or whatever, and the insurance company for the opposing party contacts you, you have no legal obligation to tell them anything. Get a lawyer who can talk on your behalf, because otherwise, they're landmines. They know what they're asking you. They know what answers they're looking for to position themselves to mess you up later on.
They're trying to get sound bites. They're trying to get quotes from you, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like I always simplify it, and I always say, if they say, how are you? And you say, "Oh, I'm fine." Forget that I'm fine. It's a beautiful day out today. They're going to take "it's a beautiful day" and they're going to make that their theme. How bad could it have been? They're seeing the beauty of that kind of
thing. They'll find anything that they can grab onto.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
A good story about that too, but we'll go for a later time.
Okay, another episode. All right. I like a teaser. That's always good. Always good.
Yeah.
So walk me through what someone can expect during a first meeting with you. How do you make sure that they feel comfortable, at ease, especially when they're likely experiencing a lot of stress and possibly a significant amount of pain?
What I try to do, if I can, is I try to do a Zoom call, because nowadays everybody does things by Zoom. Of course, I'm very happy to meet people in person, but most people like to do phone or Zoom or whatever. And again, for me, the way I do it is I just start off and I say, because, usually people I don't call them, they call me, right? So, or they're referred to me somehow. And I'll just say, "Well, tell me what happened." That's it. I just let them tell me the whole story. I want to know everything that happened that they want to tell me, that they want to disclose. And then from that, I can go off on little conversations with them about the different things that they tell me. And then I say, well, and then we'll talk about, okay, I'll tell them what to expect. If they tell them about the process, I let them know that they don't have to write me a check. People are really concerned about that. And what I'm doing is not anything different than any other personal injury lawyer. I mean, we all work on a contingency basis, but a lot of people don't know that. So, I let them know, you're never going to write me a check. It's going to come from the insurance company, and then I'll send you one, if and when your case resolves. I let them know that they can have my direct number. They can call and text me anytime they want. I'm here to talk to them. And they usually take me up on that, and I'm happy about that. Look, what I do as a personal injury lawyer, there's a million people, a million lawyers that do the same thing that I do. So, what sets each person apart is their own personality. And if they click, because a lot of people might not like my style.
Sure.
And those people will go somewhere else. And I always say, you need a lawyer, whether it's me or somebody else, and I mean that. You need to be represented. And the main goal for any lawyer is to make sure that you're represented properly. And if we can communicate well and we're comfortable with each other, and then I can help you. And if not, then you should find somebody that you feel good with.
Yeah, you want to have a connection with someone who's representing you in what's one of the most difficult times of your life.
Right. And it is a really difficult time in their life. And the other thing is, and it's not really answering your question or responding to your question, but the other thing is that I always tell people, look, it's really bad right now, but I've been doing this for a long time, and you're going to get better. I don't know if you're going to be 100%, but you're going to be a lot better than you are now at some point. And all of this is just going to be a memory, a lousy memory, but it's not a good memory. Yeah. It's going to be a memory, and you're going to be able to go on with your life, and you're going to be just fine. And I always try to reassure people that, that's it. I'm not I don't like to be all dramatic and, oh my God, your world's ending. Once in a while, it's, pretty bad, but most of the time it's going to be okay. And I'm here to help you get through that, through the bad and the good.
For someone who's never been through the legal process, what advice would you give them to make sure they're making the right decision when choosing a personal injury lawyer?
Someone with experience. They should look for someone with experience. someone that's like not hounding them. You got to sign up with me right now. Don't do that to people. Someone who has had good results. But results, by the way, are very, very case specific.
Mm-hmm.
When people say, oh, my friend got, $1 million because they, broke their little finger, there's more to it, So don't look for some lawyer that's going to puff everything up and make it sound like, oh, I can do this for you and that for you. If they ask me how much their case is worth, I don't know. How could I know? It's too early. If they ask me how long it's going to take, I don't know. Every case takes on a life of its own. And so I think that if you're upfront with a client and explain to them that, the things that you have to do in a case, the things that happen in a case are, dealing with the insurance company, which your lawyer should do, proving liability, who's really at fault. And there's a spectrum for that. If you have resources, like I have many doctors that I can work with, that I can send my clients to, that are very highly qualified. Things like that, I think, are important when choosing a lawyer. You want to know that every aspect of your case is going to be handled.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. All right. Well, thank you for tuning in to Your Case, Your Justice, Personal Injury with Empathy with Lowell Steiger. To connect with Lowell, head to steigerlaw.com and be sure to like and subscribe to our channel and leave us a review if you can. Lowell, it was really nice to talk to you. Thanks so much for being here. I look forward to the next one.
Thanks, Kevin. Me too. It was great. I appreciate it.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.